a story. A story that is as terrifying as it is true. Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop on that side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much. What is it, honey? Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel. Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news report of steers being stolen. Good idea. Keep the doors locked, no matter what. I love you, sweetie." So the guy left to get full for the car. After 2 hours, the girls say, "Where is my baby? He was supposed to be back by now." And the girl hears a scratching sound and a voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it, and then after a while she goes to sleep. The next morning she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check, and man door, hand hook, car door. Just can't. I just can't. Oh man, let's get into the video already. Hey all! Welcome to Wytchtober Day 25, where we're talking about dragons. Dragons play a huge role in literature, movies, games, and pretty much any fantasy story. They're an enormous source of lore for world building, so of course they have their place in Wytchtober. So let's go ahead and dive right into their story. According to Dwarven legend, dragons were born with the first fire, the first bolt of lightning, and the first frost to ever touch the world. They are elemental power made flesh, the keepers of the realm, and the ultimate sign of the gods' will. For the dwarves, dragons were revered. To see one was a blessing, to swear by one was an unbreakable oath, and to slay one was an unforgivable sin. Long before humans arrived in Vyrthgar, dragons ruled the skies as the apex predators, the ultimate power. For centuries, dragon culture was veiled in myth. It wasn't until the end of the first millennium that the scholars and mages of the Old Kingdoms formally studied them. Dragons are an incredibly intelligent species, with immense elemental and magical powers. They're divided into clans based on the elements they command: fire, air, earth, water, and others. These clans warred over territory for years, often fighting during specific seasons every 100 years or so. Each dragon clan has its unique abilities. Fire dragons, for example, possess boiling internal engines, allowing them to spew raw force and heat from their maws, regenerate from any wound, and fight for days without rest. Ice dragons, on the other hand, can preserve their lives for millennia and can see into their prey's mind and predict their next movements. Regardless of their clan, all female dragons have the ability to shapeshift into human form. Dragonesses use this ability to blend into mortal society, gathering knowledge or finding safe places to bear their young. And this brings us to a crucial part of dragonkind, their legacy. Dragons are fiercely protective of their lineage. They are born with an immortal dragon soul that carries the collective knowledge and traditions of their bloodline. After birth, dragonlings are abandoned by their mothers, but they aren't alone. Inside each dragon's soul is the wisdom of their ancestors. To pass on these traditions, each dragon must complete specific feats like a grand hunt, a duel, or flying to the edge of the atmosphere. If these traditions aren't fulfilled, they're lost forever, and the future generations become weaker and less intelligent. Dragons are perfectly designed engines of nature, eating, mating, and flying without ever slowing down for centuries. For millennia, their afterburner-like exhaust streaked across the skies of Vyrthgar. But humans didn't hold dragons in the same reverence as the dwarves. Dragons attacked villages and destroyed crops, causing chaos in the early human civilizations. The mages of the Aether Conclave devised a solution, or more accurately, a scheme. Learning of the dragons' need to preserve their traditions, the mages tricked the dragons into an alliance, promising peace in exchange for knowledge hidden in the ancient dens of the beasts. The chronomancer Failrude convinced the dragon leader Murgle that he had saved him from a grievous wound, gaining his trust many years ago. The mages used this opportunity to search the dragon's treasure trove, eventually uncovering the key to their plan. a gate to the dimension of the dragon's ancient enemies. Niflheim, Hell, the Demon Plane, the domain of the dragon's lost souls to the clan wars for centuries. These undead apparitions were unleashed upon those dragons who had killed them, starting an all-out war of the generations. The skies burned with elemental fire and ice, and the land became littered with dragon bones. As male dragons were slaughtered, dragonesses had no choice but to mate with humans to preserve their lineage. Although a child born from this union could still carry the dragon's soul and its knowledge, mages took advantage of this vulnerability. Using powerful enchantments, they prevented a dragoness from returning to their true forms, forcing them to give birth to human-dragon hybrids instead of true dragons. One by one, dragonesses were captured or killed, and the once mighty dragon race began to dwindle. The war ended when the undead dragons were sealed back in their dimension, but by then the damage was done. With fewer and fewer dragonesses and weaker offspring, dragons faded from the skies, leaving only lesser drakes and wild beasts behind. The disappearance of the dragons marked the rise of human dominance in Vyrthgar. The mages of the Aether Conclave took control of the elemental magic, becoming the first archmages of the new Imperium. Meanwhile, a few surviving dragonesses were kept by the great houses, trapped in cages or prisons or marriages, forced to watch as their legacy fell to ruin. Dragon half-breeds can still be seen today in Vyrthgar. Although they remember little of their parents' struggle or of their instincts as predators, some still feel a tug or a whisper from inside them that they still can't understand. They feel a strange connection to old places where their ancestors' bones lay, urging them to carry on and to reclaim what was stolen from them. For now, the dragons are gone from this world, but there still remains a hope that one day they will rule the skies once again. But for now, I think I'm finished with this piece. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow for more lore and art. Now go out there and make something awesome.